Hi, my name is Justin. I'm an eco tour guide with Save Our Springs Alliance, and welcome to Barton Springs, the crown jewel and soul of our city, located right here in Austin, Texas. The pool is 3 acres in size and fed by underground springs. It's a federally protected habitat that is home to the endangered Barton Springs salamander, Austin blind salamander, assorted invertebrates and vertebrates, aquatic plants, and the lucky swimmers that come to the pool. Today, we'll be learning about the Barton Springs complex, right here in the heart of our city. Did you know that the main spring that feeds the pool, often called Eliza Springs, is located just west of the diving board? In addition to Parthenia, there are 2 other springs that flow from the Barton segment of the Edwards Aquifer. A karst limestone aquifer, which has been recognized as more vulnerable to pollution than any other aquifer in Texas. Eliza Spring, which emerges in the Elk Lodge's old amphitheater, right by the concession stand on the pool's north side. Old Mill Spring, also known as Zenobia Spring, is located downstream of the pool's lower dam. Together, the Barton Springs complex is the 4th largest spring in Texas and supplies the Barton Springs pool with 30 million gallons of water per day. The water in our aquifer moves rapidly underground through the porous and fractured rock of the Edwards Formation. This water has little or no filtration, traveling up to 20 miles in under 3 days. So what goes into the aquifer comes out at Barton Springs. This is in contrast to the more common sand aquifer, where the water moves slowly between grains of sand that serve as a natural filter to pollution. This is why it's so important that we create a regional system of protected land in the hill country and limit development and impervious cover over the watershed. And why it's critical that we live lightly by conserving water, landscaping with native plants, and not using harmful pesticides and fertilizers. It's also important that we safely dispose of hazardous materials and pick up after our pets, so harmful bacteria doesn't enter into the aquifer. Remember, what goes in the ground and through the aquifer comes out in Barton Springs. Now let's walk over to Dave on the other side of the pool at Eliza Springs.
Well, here we are at the beautiful Eliza Spring. My name's Dave and I'm an eco tour guide with the Save Our Springs Alliance. Eliza sits on the same fault as the main spring. However, it's on the opposite side of the creek here on the north side of the pool. The largest known population of Austin's unique and endangered Barton Springs salamander makes its home right here in the Eliza Spring. This deep concrete amphitheater was built in 1902 by Andrew Zilker for use by the Elks Lodge. The man-made concrete bottom has holes drilled where you can see the water welling up. Now, the water used to flow through a grate and into a pipe that led all the way out to the bypass tunnel and eventually poured into Barton Creek below Barton Springs Pool. Now, this spring is not open to the public but can still be viewed from this fence line up above the amphitheater where we're standing right now. As the years passed, the pipe aged and it began to fail. In the 2017 daylighting project, the city removed the old pipe and restored the stream to its natural state. Efforts to daylight the original stream are now complete, and the City of Austin has restored the stream and reduced the anthropogenic flow regime and negative habitat modifications of the past. This Eliza Spring daylighting supports long-term species recovery and offers the community a highly visible place to observe and learn about Austin's unique environment and its iconic endangered species. Once again, the stream provides the needed water speed and depth, as well as hiding places and native plants to support native aquatic life, including our endangered salamanders. The stream also provides pool and park visitors with a beautiful place to view this important salamander habitat. If the salamanders here in the Barton Springs complex are thriving, we know that we're protecting the water quality in Central Texas. The Edwards Aquifer and its springs provide drinking water for over 1.5 million Texans. The Eliza Spring project increases habitat for these crucial indicators of our water quality. The project also helps the city fulfill the Barton Springs Pool Habitat Conservation Plan, which was put into place so that the city could renew its U.S. Fish and Wildlife permit and continue to operate Barton Springs as a public pool. With over 1 million annual visitors to the Barton Springs Pool, the Eliza Springs project, it helps to keep the pool open and increases the water quality and the quality of life for residents and visitors alike. Now let's leave the Barton Springs Pool and we'll hike on over to Barton Creek, where Joel is taking a look at the Old Mill Spring, otherwise known as Zenobia Spring.
Hi guys, I'm Joel Mansell. I work at Zilker Park as a Parks Grounds assistant. I'm also eco tour guide for Save Our Springs Alliance. Today we're at Zenobia Springs. Zenobia Springs, also known as Sunken Garden Springs and Grist Mill Springs, is located downstream from Barton Springs Pool. It is located on the south side of Barton Creek. In the early 1800s, William Barton created grist mill and a gathering place right here at Zenobia Springs. In the late 1800s, Andrew Zilker purchased the land and created the first ice-making business in the city of Austin. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, the National Youth Organization created an amphitheater surrounding the springs along Zenobia Springs. In 2001, biologists discovered the Austin blind salamander. It was later added to the federal endangered species list. Today, the spring is closed from public access, although you can still walk around the often grown perimeter. Scientific analysis show that the water of Old Mill Spring has a slightly different chemistry than that of main Barton Springs and Eliza Springs, even though it is very close to these springs. The spring itself is managed for endangered species habitat. You could see the spring flowing down to the creek, which flows to the Colorado River. Zenobia Springs also creates a beautiful cove on Barton Creek, which is a great place to take a snorkel tour. Let's dive in and take a look.
Wow, that was amazing. Next time you're at Barton Creek, be sure to bring your snorkel, mask, or goggles. There's a whole underwater world ready for us to explore.
We are lucky to live in a city with such a beautiful treasure. But remember, pick up after your pets, don't use fertilizers or pesticides on your lawn, conserve water, do not tamper with habitat, and vote for your environment. Hope to see y'all at Barton Springs. See you soon.